You see, God expects us, those who say that we are saved, He expects us to be fruitful. But fruitful in what way?
All right, looks like we are live, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Goodson. You are watching rebrandUS. We got a very exciting show today. We have Adrian the A. Stinson, our co-host. We also have Eric Russell, my co-host. In addition to our guest who we have on the show tonight. Let me go ahead and introduce him real quick. All right, so he's loading. That's
he's digging in them fries or whatever too.
Yeah, he was enjoying that meal. So what it is tonight we have an individual who wears many hats. Looks like we're gonna have a little technical difficulties with him, but we'll bring him in as soon as he gets that figured out. We have an individual who wears many hats tonight. He's a preacher or a pastor, some of you may say. He's a motivator. He's a doctor. He's a dean. He's I believe a vice president. I wish he was on so he could tell me that. Which means, of course, he's also a educator. And he's a businessman. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so very excited to have the incomparable Dr. Lavelle Hendricks on. How you doing, sir?
What's up?
Fine, brothers. How are you?
We are absolutely wonderful. So glad to have you on the show. I think you missed our intro, which is fine because you can go back and it was excellent. It's probably the best. Steve Harvey couldn't even do what we just did for you. So if you go back, you'll just love it.
We got a freeze.
I think we got a little freeze or a delay going on. Well, in both. All right. Well, anyway, tonight we're talking about education, the good, the bad, we'll let you fill in the blank at that point. So we got lots of questions we're going to talk about. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? How's your week going?
Man, everything's good right here. Just living life. Couldn't wait to get on with my rebrandUS family so we can talk. This is actually the first time that I think we all out of sync. I like we all rebrandUS, but I like that we got the black, blue, and red. I never saw it before.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hendricks, can you hear us? All right, we're going to try to get that taken care of. We can't hear you if you can. If you can hear us, we can't hear you. Just letting you know, we're going to mute you for a little bit, and then we're going to try to come back to you in just a little bit. But anyway, hey, everybody, do us a favor. What we want you to do is look at that share button and click it. Simply help us out. Look at that share button, click it, tell your friends about the show. Tonight we got a genius on, is what I like to call him, because you look at the things that this individual has done, and everybody on this show is talking about getting there or wanting to get there or something to that nature. He's a genius in every way with technology, apparently. We'll get that worked out. We will get that worked out.
Okay.
All right, Eric, do me a favor. Make sure our comments are working tonight. We have been working on it all week long. But anyway, we want y'all to certainly chime in and tell us how y'all feel about some of these questions. We want to make sure that we get everybody's opinion in tonight. All right, I think he went to his car. How do you do, sir?
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Okay,
About some of these questions.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, we got a delay.
Dr. Hendricks? Can you see us? Can you hear us?
Your internet connection is very poor.
Ours?
Is it my internet connection?
Well, I'm at the university and we always have great connections here.
Well, hopefully you can hear us. Everybody's saying hello to you. What's good, rebrandUS? Everybody's excited to see that you're on the show with us, Dr. Hendricks. We had a few questions we wanted to talk to you about. Hopefully you can at least hear us very well, and we'll just jump right on into these questions since we got you. First of all, we want to talk about the educational system. Is the educational system good? All right.
You didn't like that question at all. You know what? I'm out of there. Well, let's go ahead. Let's discuss that. When Dr. Hendricks, whenever he can get back in, he just jump in the middle. So repeat the question.
All right. Is the educational system good? Eric, what do you say? Eric, I think you're the closest to the educational system. You've worked with it, a lot of kids and so forth. How do you feel about the educational system today?
I think the educational system has its purpose. I think parts of it is good. I think a bigger majority of it needs to be worked on to get better at. I think the foundational stuff that's set up for the kids, and this question we'll get to later on, kindergarten and some other grades, I think is a really good foundational standpoint. But I mean, it's got a lot of room to grow. Put it like that. And I think from a teacher standpoint, from an administration standpoint, but I also think from a parent standpoint, I think that we can all strengthen it together.
Ace, I mean, yeah, you have 2 children in school right now. So how do you feel about it?
Actually 4. I don't want to forget my illegitimate ones on the other side of town. I still love y'all. You know what? It's honestly the system itself as a whole. Right now, I don't think we're in a good place. And I mean, this is from whether we're talking grade school or secondary education or whatever the case may be. Especially when we're talking like grade school.
It's good,
the curriculum, like everybody's being, it's like with everything else, you see the flaws and you fix it over time and it gets better. The school system stays right there because everybody is making employees versus entrepreneurs and free thinking.
All right, let's try this one more time. Dr. Hendricks, can you hear us?
Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Very clear.
Okay. Let me get on another computer. Can you give me 10 minutes so I can get on another computer?
Absolutely. Take your time. We look forward to seeing you.
Okay.
Okay. Gotta go. All right. So let's go to the comments real quick. Thank you, Leonard, for sending that comment. He says the misinformation of disinformation system. That's what the school system is. What's good? rebrandUS. What we're getting. I'm here. Leonard, once again. Of course, we knew that based off that last comment, huh? I did it backwards. And the school system. This is how I feel about the school system. I think that one of the questions that I had in my mind is, does it really prepare us for our future? And that's one of the questions we want to ask Dr. Hendricks when he gets back on. But does the school system prepare us for our future? I know when my parents were kids, and when your parents were kids, they could graduate high school with a trade school. We've talked about that on this show before, but they don't do that as much. I mean, there's still a couple things that you can get. You can get maybe some cosmetology here and there, maybe some machine shop stuff. But is it getting you prepared for life, or is it just giving you knowledge that you just probably won't use?
It's just like a factory, it's just a revolving system. You walk in here, you go to this station, and then the end product all goes out the door to the same place. It's basically you've gotten exactly what they want to give you. That's the perfect comment. They're basically they're basically making robots.
Well, I also say this. I think that, like you were saying earlier, Anthony, the fact that when our parents was in school, things like that, I think the school system made more sense. But as things progress, you want the system to progress with it. And I think we probably all agree on this. I think the intentionality of it, I think, is to keep it the same because they want a certain result out of it. But teachers and students are the ones who are having the consequences from these actions, though. And obviously the rest of the environment of the United States, because it's just going to continue having people try to think the same way, which I think it plays to the part where everybody want to feel heard all the time, because we're taught to think the same way a lot of different ways in school. So I think it has a lot of different consequences too. I think we just don't necessarily look at them like that from that perspective on a regular basis.
Well, I think that one of the things we have to do in order to have a conversation about education, we first have to understand what education is, like we do in rebrandUS style. Let's define education. What exactly is education?
That's good. I guess it's supposed to be the obtaining of knowledge. That's
a good, quick answer.
Yeah, I get. I'm not sure if it's of the definition would include like for a specific purpose, but definitely it's supposed to be the learning or obtaining of knowledge.
All right, so we got a Facebook user. They said, I think kids are not learning much, but just trying to pass to move to the next grade or graduate. Hey, look, if y'all want y'all's names.
That's Tanya Duffield.
Tanya Duffield, how you doing, Miss Lady? So look, if y'all want y'all's names seen on the screen, there's a spot on there that says StreamYard, something. You click on that. It's like 2 buttons you click and it'll bring your name up. Next comment comes from Leonard. Once again, more importantly, the goal of the education. And I think that's really the second part of that question, Leonard. The goal. What is the meaning behind education? If I had to define education, I don't know that I would want to put knowledge in there so strong. I think information is power and information is knowledge, but it's just the vomiting of information. But information without any purpose, is there really knowledge to it? Right? So, I mean, because every kid is not going to be a trigonometry leader or any kind. Some of the stuff that we're taking, especially on the higher level of education. So every kid is not going to have the ability to do some of the things that they're trying to make you do in their career. So is that knowledge even knowledge? Especially if you give me something, it's knowledge if I retain it. But if you give me something and I don't retain it, is that knowledge?
Well, you were giving out knowledge, so I guess you still call it knowledge because it's still knowledge you were handing out. Now, it wasn't on the person in receiving. That's just on them.
I looked it up because we talked about this the other night. But I thought about it. What is education? So I looked it up on Google, right? So the process is the process of receiving or giving systematic instruction, especially at a school or a university. That's the big word, systematic. Again,
systematic, right? Yeah, that word, they put that word in there.
So there's a little bit of obviously a negative connotation with that word, and
there's negative connotation.
And let me give you this quick definition of learning. That was something we talked about the other night too. The acquisition of knowledge or skills through experience, study, or being taught. To me, that's what school should be more about, as opposed to being taught something somebody wants you to know. Because again, I always go to history when we're talking about learning education in school, because they teach you from perspective what they want you to hear from. If you go somebody in Poland, go somebody in Germany, go somebody in China, the way they teach history is going to be a little different from how people the U.S. teaches history, right? So it's from a different perspective. So I think the same about education and overall in America. So
learning. See, to be taught is one thing, to learn is another. Right? See, some teachers can actually pull the ability to learn out of the student, especially if they make it interesting enough. Is education valuable? I mean, what do y'all think is the best school age? Where does the most value comes at a school age? Is it from K through 4? Is it K through 12? Or is it 13 or freshman year in college through, graduate?
That's a good one. I would say like K through 3rd. That's setting the foundation. Because if there's any knowledge to be obtained, those years are going to set the foundation for if you even want to obtain it or if you reject it, just based on the experience. That's why you have some people, they love school, they be in class taking notes and stuff like that, paying attention. And you have some people, like me, I was a horrible student. I really didn't care. And then when I got old enough, I just stopped going. I'm like, but the foundation, being set with that. So
for those of you just joining us, I believe in just a few minutes, we're going to have Dr. and Pastor Lavelle Hendricks. He'll be on the show. He's having some technical difficulties. He's trying to get that taken care of, but he will be joining us or rejoining us here in just a little bit. The topic tonight is education, the good, the bad, the ... You fill in that blank. So some of the questions that we've thrown out for tonight is, we've given the definition of education and what is the meaning behind education. Is education valuable? And if so, what's the best school age? Is the educational system good? So, if you guys have any comments based on that, throw your answers out there. All right.
I would be really curious if we have any teachers out there, and I know tons of teachers. Most of us know tons of teachers. I'll be curious to hear everybody perspective that's in the education system, because my side of now, I have a 5 and 3-year-old is going to be probably different now than it was 10 years ago, because I have a little more skin in the game at this point, right?
So let's try this again. Dr. Hendricks, how you doing, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh, we can hear you. Oh, we can see you.
Here we go.
Whatever. We apologize. We will upgrade our system so that we can have better internet for you.
That's
So we
okay.
can keep up with the university.
I'm sorry, my apologies. That's okay. Thank you guys for having me tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on the show tonight. We're talking about education, the good, the bad, the ... We filling in the blanks. So at your higher level education, we definitely want to have you on the show so you can give us some insight on some of the things that we often talk about individually. And one of those things we talk about, of course, is, the educational system. And how important is it? Like, is it a good system right now? One of the things we said at the beginning of this show is, many years ago, the school system, the lower level school system, K through 12, taught you a trade. When you graduated, you had, experience doing something. They don't do that anymore. So overall, is the school system, is the educational system still good?
Well, first and foremost, to my distinguished colleagues that are on with me, I'm sure we'll have differing views on things, but I am a product of public education. I went to school in the public education system in Louisiana. I'm on the school board here in Commerce. So I'm a proud supporter of public education. I do know that everyone who goes through the K through 12 environment and eventually walk across the stage is not designed to go to college. Everyone doesn't want to go to college, and that's perfectly fine. One of the things that we have done here is that we teach our students a trade. They can come out being a welder. They can come out working with electricity as an electrician. They can come out working as a plumber. So the VOTEC part of the K through 12 environment is critically important to know, again, that everyone is not going to go on to college. But I do think it is incumbent upon the K through 12 environment to prepare young people as they're coming out of school with some type of trade. Let's face it, I support the military. I believe in the military. If young men and young ladies don't want to go to college, they don't want to learn a trade, I'm a firm believer in discipline and focus. Let them become a part of the military system so that they can have some type of means to support themselves financially. Because I want FICA to stay out of my pocket. FICA gets money before I get my money. So I want people to learn. I want them to be employed. I want them to get a job. So I think K through 12 as a whole is doing a phenomenal job in trying to brand itself as an opportunity for young people to learn some type of trade when they come out.
That's a much better answer than I ever expected to hear, to be honest with you. I love the answer. But let's get it. Since you're talking about college and going to college and all those things, where do you start when deciding to go to college? What questions do you need to ask yourself for the, to get the correct education that you need?
Well, first of all, I think college begins at birth. I think mom and dad or dad should be preparing for these young people to go to college. If that's the focus that we're going to look at only on college, because I've already shared my views about K through 12 for those who want to go electrical work or branding or plumbing and so forth. But I think we need to make the necessary steps, and that includes financial. We know that over the years, the state support for higher education has dropped. The federal government support of higher education has also dropped. So mom and dad and uncle, big mama, big daddy, cousins, brothers and sisters, they all need to be preparing for the cost associated with higher education from birth. Can't wait when they get in high school. If we wait to get to high school, we already started too late. We have to understand that we have to teach these young people the fundamentals of reading. Reading is so fundamental. If you can't read, you can't do math problems. You can't read, you can't do word problems. Can't read, you can't comprehend literature and so forth. So reading is so fundamental, and also being prepared for higher education. So you got reading, you got financial, but most importantly, you cannot start at grade number 9. You need to start at grade number 1. I tell my little goddaughter, I've been saving money from the day that she was born on October 15, 2004. Been saving money for her. So if she goes to, when she goes to college, not yet, but when she goes to college and she gets scholarships, well, guess what we're going to do with that money? We're going to be able to buy her a car. She'll have a car to go, so we can channel those dollars other places. But we got to save for it. We got to prepare for it.
Absolutely wonderful. I'm gonna let my co-hosts over there ask a question if they have any. Eric, Ace.
Well, how do you feel about as far as do you think is the educational system the same for everyone? not necessarily black or white,
Rich or poor,
male,
male or female.
rich or poor, but just just period. Do you think the educational system, education is the same for everyone?
Well, I think everyone, according to the law, should be afforded an opportunity to get an education. But keep in mind again, is that what takes place between 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning until 3 or 3:30 is one thing. It's when those young people come home. What type of environment are they coming home to? What type of tutoring services are they getting in the community? What of our Divine Nine, Black Greeks, fraternities, and sororities? What are they doing to help these young people in the school system? What about our civic organization? What are they doing? What is mom or dad or brother or sister, if they're not prepared to help them to the next level with the educational system? Who's there to help them? So yeah, I again, you're going to find me as a huge supporter of the educational system. I think there needs to be some modification. Personally, what I've always believed in, I believe in year-round schooling. I do. I believe that for the most part, when you're giving someone, there's a book called The Last Dropout. If you haven't read it, read it. It's the Asian approach to the educational system. We're teaching our young people, they'll come in August, and in May, they're out. And June, July, and August, they're out there having fun, enjoying themselves. Then they come back to school in August, and now all of a sudden they have to reteach them all the things they forgot for 3 months. So I'm a huge proponent. I believe in going to school 15 weeks, being off for 3, 15 weeks, being off for 3, 15 weeks, being off for 3. Put it together, you come up with the number of weeks that we have in the system. I know that I'm different in my views on it, but I don't think that we ought to have these glorified vacations where they just go off for 3 and 4 months. They're not reading, they're not studying, they're not preparing themselves. They come back to the school system. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get them back up to speed. Well, we've already lost a third of the semester already.
Absolutely. Let me go to the comments real quick. It's a hello, Pastor Hendricks. I couldn't see what I was going to say. Everything is so technology instead of hands-on with pen and paper. All right, let's dig into that a little bit. You say year-round. Year-round, I work year-round. It's like you probably work year-round, and most everybody else work year-round. Is that another level of teaching kids that, hey, look, eventually you're going to have a job. You're going to have to work year-round. So does that go hand in hand with that, or is it just, okay, I'm going to give them a couple weeks off because I understand education is tough. I need to let my brain rest.
I look at things this way. I know that when young people get out of school in my community and the ones that I deal with, when they get out of school in May, right around the corner is something called HOT, hot. It's hot in June, it's hot in July, it's hot in August. Mom and or dad, big mama, big daddy, they're already struggling to send them to school. They're already struggling to give them some type of financial support. But what happens now? They're at home in June. They're at home in July. They're at home in August. Guess what you got to do? You got to run that AC. Yeah. That electrical bill is going through the roof. Guess what also you got to do? You got to feed them. So I think that there are some things that we ought to be innovative enough to give different approaches to the learning system. My aunt was a 5th grade English teacher, so I valued English and education from day one. So we got to think differently. We got to think outside of the box. We got enough things in our toolbox to make our education system better.
Eric?
Yeah, I have a quick. I'm a proponent of the school in general. Obviously there's a lot of things I feel like we can do differently in the school system. One thing I wanted to ask you about in particular was what's your stance on how they teach towards tests these days? At least in Texas, I know they do standardized testing here in Texas, and it seems like most of the kids are getting taught specifically towards the test.
Yeah, what happens is in the testing arena, and you got to understand, testing is a huge moneymaker. Mm-hmm. The educational testing services, when it comes to your ACT, SAT, your LSAT, GSAT, GMAT, all the educational testing services repeatedly said to us, watch this, the SAT or the ACT test score is only an indicator of first-year academic success. That's it. Beyond that, it has no bearing whatsoever. It's only an indicator of first-year academic success. My philosophy has always been, if a person wants to go to school, put a butt in the seat, teach that kid, hold that young person accountable. When it comes to your question about testing, watch what testing does. We put stuff in short-term memory in our young people, and then we ask them to regurgitate it back to us on an exam. And then we go for the next 5 or 6 weeks, and they can't remember what they did 6 weeks earlier. My philosophy is, and again, I know the importance of testing, I get it, but I believe in educating young people. We have to use Socratic modes of thinking. We got to think outside the box. Everyone does not learn. We know that. Some individuals are visual learners, some are auditorial learners, some are galactic learners. They all learn differently, and we got to be able to tap into that with our young people.
You know what, Pastor? I got a degree or two. I'm back to college now. You teach commerce? Yes. You motivate me to make some more education.
Okay, well, I'll hook you up with a scholarship. Why don't you get your PhD since you already got 2 degrees? Come on my way. I'll help you out for sure. No doubt about it. And all your listening audience, I'll take care of all them. Get them admitted into our master's and our PhD program. We'll take care of it. We got some monies available for you.
I'll try to come back, but if they saw my transcript from my bachelor's, they turn me down.
I think they will turn you down, but I will not.
Oh, you would? Okay. You're all right.
Do you have an African American studies curriculum at Texas A&M Commerce?
We have an African American emphasis in our history department. It's interesting that you would say that because I'm sure you're well versed in knowing I take students 4 times a year on a civil rights excursion. I've been very fortunate to have Ambassador Andrew Young, for your listening audience who may not know him. He was Dr. Martin Luther King's personal friend. Ambassador Andrew Young was the former United Nations ambassador. He was the mayor of the city of Atlanta. And so what I do, I take students to Mississippi, just got back last month. They go through all the historical sites of the civil rights movement. They go where Emmett Till was falsely accused by Mrs. Bryant of whistling at her. We go to those sites where the 3 civil rights workers, Shorty, Goodwin, and Cheney, were killed. When you go to watch the movie Mississippi Burning, you'll see all those things. We talk to foot soldiers who marched with Dr. King. We go through all of that. We're getting ready now to go to Birmingham, Alabama, Bull O'Connor, 16th Street Baptist Church, where the 3 young ladies were brutally killed during the bombing. We go to the Civil Rights Institute over there. I take them to Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where people didn't even know several hundred years ago that a race massacre actually occurred. So we do that. So yes, we basically give our students here the experiential learning. They get wonderful opportunities to know about their history. We teach those things. Matter of fact, you'll see right here. If you haven't read it, please read it. The 1619 Project book. We got a community here in my area that's going to be reading this to discuss this book and to talk about it. So a lot of good things are going on.
Love it.
That's a fine educational institution. Goodson, Eric, do y'all have degrees from a fine education institution like that? Am I by myself?
You by yourself on that one, at least for that.
Finer, actually. Finer.
Okay, so is there any way we could get involved with some of those things as far as the Black History?
I strongly encourage you to become a student at my university. Become a student at my university, you get an opportunity to travel with us.
I told you they're not gonna let me back.
He's going back to school. Yay!
Commerce graduate of 02.
You get your degree in 02 from us in what area?
Criminal justice.
In CJ with Dr. Willie Edwards.
That's what I was going to say. I had the chance. I had the honorable pleasure of being taught by Dr. Willie Edwards. Joke all the time, but man, I was a horrible student. I say it all the time. Dr. Edwards was one of those professors that I wanted to come to class.
Sure.
And I came. Even if I was doing everything the wrong way, but I get up to come to Dr. Edwards' class just for the teaching, because he made you want to learn.
And again, I can't stress the importance of this. Don't stop after 1 degree. Don't stop after 2 degrees. Don't stop after 3 degrees. It's always about learning. It's always about bettering yourself. And I'm very serious about this. I strongly encourage you to consider coming back into our master's or our PhD programs. I'll be happy to help you with that. I'll give you the information that you need to your listening audience. We have scholarship dollars readily available. We have a campus in Mesquite. We got a campus over in McKinney. We got a campus here in Commerce. We got online instructional materials. We just opened up a brand new campus in North Dallas across from North Park Mall. So we have the opportunities to provide your listening audience and anyone else for that matter an opportunity to go to school. We got dollars for it as well.
So we're talking to Dr. Lavelle Hendricks from Texas A&M Commerce and Pastor Lavelle Hendricks from East Caney Baptist Church, one of my mom's best friends. She talks so highly of you. I'm actually probably going to take you up on that. I was going to get it from an HBCU, but we'll talk about that at another time. But Doctor, and when we come back, we'll take a quick break. But Dr. Claude Anderson is somebody that we follow on this show. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who he is, but he has his 5-story building, and in the 5-story building, he talks about what Black people need to get done in their community before they can see some success. And of the 5-story building, education is the last thing he puts on there. All right, I want to talk about that when we come back.
Sure.
Want to bring that curb appeal back to your home or business? Let us help you. Call Ace Power Washing at 469-337-4080 or email us at powerwashingace3@gmail.com. Whether it's sidewalks, driveways, house or building washing, we'll take care of you. Call or email today for your free quote. We'll see you soon.
You see, God expects us, those who say that we are saved, He expects us to be fruitful. But fruitful in what way?
The best way to change the world is to change your world. And that begins with me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with rebrandUS. We're going to start off with rebrand her. Actually, not rebrand her. It's supposed to be rebrand her tonight. We're going to do a special segment, rebrand me. We're going to talk about Rowena Johnson. So Rowena Johnson, for those of you who don't know, she was a 50-year teacher and principal in Sulphur Springs. And there was an issue that we felt like there was going to be an issue earlier in the week. So this, as you can see, this little flyer or whatever, it had been sent out saying that they were going to change the name of Rowena Johnson or they were going to change her school into a special ed or something like that. But the reality is we wasn't going to let that be. And I am proud to say that after many phone calls and all the things that we've done, I have been given the word that they're actually going to keep it a school. They're actually going to keep it where it is, and they're not going to change anything. But in fact, the new school that they're going to build, if they build it, that is going to be the special ed school with the new name and all those things. So, I mean, we're talking about education today. I think it's very important for us to bring this up because in our own community of Sulphur Springs, and at least two of us are very familiar with that. Rowena is a staple in that place, and we want to make sure that we keep that there. But hey, look, we don't know if it's over yet. We're just giving word that it's going to be over. Everybody, please go out.
If you're that, my brother, I just left Superintendent Mike Lamb's office before I went to church about 2 hours ago. Nothing to that effect is going. Rowena Johnson was a pillar in our community as relates to education. 50 plus years in a school system is a very long time. People don't do that. Let me assure you and your listening audience, nothing is going to happen to the name of Rowena Johnson. Nothing is going to happen at all. There's been a lot of miscommunication going on throughout the community, but rest assured, her name is secure on the school. Her name will forever be there on the school. The superintendent will be reaching out to the family to talk with them to make sure that they are comfortable with everything that's going on as well. I just happened to have a meeting with him on another issue, and the subject matter came up, but Superintendent Lamb and the Sulphur Springs School Board is handling that matter. They adore Rowena Johnson like so many of us also.
Love it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that information. It's a privilege and an honor for us to have you on the show tonight and kind of discuss that. All right. Before we went to the break, we said in the Black community, Dr. Claude Anderson says, and education is the last thing we should worry about, behind economics being number one, and this order, politics two, the political world, justice system, having judges and so forth, the media being number 4, and then education. So speak to that. Do you think education should be higher up on the list?
When I was in school, I was introduced in a Afrocentric course, 2 different philosophies. One by a guy named Booker T. Washington. And Booker T. Washington said, African Americans, he used the term blacks at the time, should always strive for political rights. And when you control politics, you can control the economics or the money. And then his counterpart, W. Du Bois, says, oh, no, Booker. If you control economics, then you can control the politics. My philosophy is with W.E.B. Du Bois, with economics. And once you have the economic power, then you're able to channel and change a lot of things. Now, with your distinguished guest who puts education down at the bottom, my thinking has always been this. When you look at Congress in D.C., 95% of the blacks there are educated individuals. Mm-hmm. Educated individuals. When you look at higher education in general, you don't come out here and teach and put in an environment if you don't have a doctorate degree in leading. So my view has always been education. I believe in education. I think it's critically important to have education because education is what basically is the foundation that will move you towards political rights. It will move you towards economic rights. It will move you towards things. So I strongly believe that we have to look at education as the forefront.
So, fellas?
I value education. I think Dr. Claude Anderson was kind of coming from a different way because I know we were discussing systematic, the way the system is set up. I think he was kind of saying even with the education, still wouldn't be able to break through anything because of the way the system is set up. So I think
then you're looking at a different area. Now you're talking about systemic racism. And
I think that's the way it's coming from as far as when he had the levels.
I firmly agree with that. I still wonder why is it that for every 67 cents on the dollar that a woman only makes 33 cents. This is 2022. I'll also ask that even within our community, the Black community, 9 out of every 10 Black kids are being born to a single mom. 9 out of every 10. They didn't get there by themselves. I mean, where are we as men? Why aren't we stepping to the plate? I mean, we say we love her, and then we produce the child, and then boom, many years ago, my brother used to like some song called Papa Was a Rolling Stone, and where his hat was, that's where he liked that, or something like that. But my point to that is we got to take care of some ills in our own society. We got to take care of things because I look at things also from a biblical perspective. Be the priest of your home. Be the pastor of your home. Don't send them there, bring them there. And just as a side note, we know about our religious Black community. We know that for the most part, thank God for our sisters, because if they were not there, it's safe to say most of our churches' doors would be shut. So there are some things that we need to work on and some things that we need to get done.
Absolutely love it. Let me go ahead and tell you real quick about how rebrandUS all started. I'm sure our audience has heard this many times. Before I do that, I'm gonna go to the comments. It says, Eric, tell me who this is. What an educational experience with Dr. M. Lavelle, academically, spiritually, ethnically, socially, and in the community, economically, politically. Still praying the clear understanding of the SSISD school bond. So,
the school bond?
Carolyn Thomas.
Carolyn Thomas.
And to your comment on that, I did share with the superintendent today that I think it's incumbent not only upon the superintendent, but also the board members of the Sulphur Springs Independent School District to get out into all the communities, including the African American community, sit down and explain what my memory serves me correct. I think it's a $93 million bond. The school board incomers. We just passed, I think, a $68 or $70 million bond issue. We took it upon ourselves. We took a whole 6 months of meeting with everybody. We went throughout, we canvassed our entire community, went to civic organization, went to church leaders, went to everybody, telling them what we're actually going to do with everything in size 12 fonts so that they could see it and not in microscopic letters that they couldn't understand. So it's about if Sulphur Springs does not educate the voters as what's in this bond package, people will vote out of fear and say no. So please, I talked to Superintendent Lamb, and he's going to be doing that. So I want to make sure that your caller or whoever gave the comment understands that they are hearing the message that they need to get out, because this thing, I think, is May the 7th, if my memory serves me correctly.
I believe that was your good friend Carolyn Thomas.
Oh,
as a matter
okay.
of fact.
Mr. Carolyn Thomas, they're in the great nation's capital of ours. Love it very much.
Washington, D.C. So, real quick, Eric and myself, we came up with rebrandUS because we saw Trayvon Martin killed. Once he got killed, we realized, hey, look, maybe it's us who need to be rebranded as Black men. And so, some things happened through the years. We weren't able to do what we wanted to do. But then in 2020, when it came, we saw George Floyd. He was killed. Then we realized, wait a minute, it's not us who needs to be rebranded. So we lowercase the capital R and then capitalize the U.S. And, it's the United States who need to be. So a lot of our conversation about the issues of Black America, not all of them, education, we're doing this for everyone. But with that being said, I want to tell you that part first. So when you hear these, the cultural differences in education, are we learning the same? Do we understand the same? We've been taught that, it's culturally biased, everything with math. You're the math guy. So is it the same? Is it equal, everyone?
Well, when it comes to math, Mrs. King was my algebra teacher. And when it comes to algebra, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. I mean, I promise you, it works. I think what the issue is that we all have different learning styles, and instructors need to capitalize on what it is. As I said to you a few minutes ago, some people are auditorial learners. Some people are visual learners. Some individuals need an additional amount of time to help them learn things. And that's what we need to do within the education school system. I will always say to parents or grandparents or big mama or whoever is raising a child, get involved. Go to those PTO meetings. Go to those schools. Know what's going on. Know who your child's teachers are. Go to those conferences. If you can't go between 8 and 5 because you're working, send out an email. If you can't send out an email, then call somebody on the telephone. We got to make sure, as we quote unquote rebrand ourselves, let's go back to what we know worked in the past. I told you my aunt was an English teacher. She taught for 54 years in a segregated school system in Louisiana, but she was in charge of a classroom. We didn't have some of these behavioral issues now the way we're seeing. And we do know that research shows, even here in the state of Texas, that Black boys are disproportionately suspended from schools versus other ethnic groups. We know those things. We have to look at what the media is projecting about Black boys as well. So teachers got to have complete control of their classrooms.
So real quick, something you said that you kind of highlight something I think about on a regular basis, like diagnostics and diagnostics, right? So you're talking about different styles of learning. Oftentimes in schools, if you need extra help with learning, they throw those kids in special ed type classes, or they diagnose them as remedial, put them in the remedial classes. And when all I really need is a little 5 minute time by themselves in the classroom. So
yeah, my brother, you touched on a nerve with me, because all of these, they call them CDs, conduct disorders, or EDs, emotional disorders. Sometimes these kids are just lazy, and we got to make darn sure that we're involved in the school system so our kids are not being labeled. Because one of the worst places in a school system is the teacher's lounge, because they congregate there and they share information about students. And next thing you know, it's like Chucky or Shaniqua or Ray or Poo, whoever it is. Next thing you know, teachers say, oh, it's going to be in my class. Oh, let me tell you the problems I had. No, we need to dispel those myths. We got to get involved in the school system.
Absolutely.
All right, you touched on another nerve that I'm gonna bring up here in just a little bit.
How many nerves you got, brother? I'm touching on lots.
Well, you touched on his nerve a minute ago. I got a lot of them, but you touched. So your brother was listening to the Temptations, by the way. Papa was Rolling Stone.
Okay.
September 28th, 1972. That was the year that it was.
I knew you were going to say that, boy. Yeah, you can't get over.
I just felt like telling you that. I just happened to know that.
Thank
By the
you.
way, it has a 1:54 interlude, but we don't have to get into all that. But you did say something that was interesting to me, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. Is the parenting, like how much like, are the parents really focusing on themselves? Are they realizing their faults or how they can? I forgot exactly how we worded it.
How to make themselves more accountable.
Yeah, how to make themselves more accountable in their children's learning and their education at school as a whole.
Are you talking about from an Afrocentric perspective?
Well, you know what? That's a good start. Let's start there.
I applaud my single moms. My single moms are out there struggling. Excuse me, some. Some are working multiple jobs to make sure they keep food on the table, to make sure that they are doing these things. And I applaud them for that. If you watch these sporting events all the time, football, basketball, which is predominantly African-American sports, you see those guys on the sidelines. What do you see them saying? Hello, Dad? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying hello, Mom, because they know the struggles. Mama is the one that's there tired, but yet she still gets out there and she goes watch play Pee-wee football games. She's working all week long. She's tired, but yet she still goes out to that stadium on a Friday night to watch them play football. She's still tired, and she goes to watch them play basketball the next day, and yet she still is tired, but she goes to a place of worship. So I applaud what our single moms, our Black moms have done with us to make a way for us, to teach us, to mold us, to shape us. Too many times she's being both mom and dad, and she's tired. That's why I keep saying to us, we got to step to the plate and relieve them of some of the pressure and the strains that they're going through. We got to be a part of all of this together. So I applaud what they are doing. It was not designed that way by God, but yet they're doing it, and we got to step to the plate.
That to me is an education in itself. It's like it's education beyond the four walls. How do we get Black men to start doing their job and doing the things that they're supposed to? I mean, originally that was what this was all about. RebrandUS.
Yeah, we still stand on it.
Yeah, but if you look at the statistics say the following. When it comes to Black men between the ages of 17, I think it's 35, 70%. It means 7 out of every 10 Black men either probation, parole, or incarcerated. Those are frightening statistics as to what's going on in our community. So you say, well, what does that mean? It simply means, remember we talked about going to college and education? A felon, guess what? They don't qualify for financial aid. So they can't go, they can't pay for it. That's why we got to get involved. We can't turn our backs on our brothers out there that are struggling. We still got to deal with it. All this masking of alcohol and drug use, it just deals with the hurt and the pain and the frustration that they go through day in and day out. And they're just trying to use something to cope just to make it to the next day. We got to be there for one another.
Ace, you had something?
Not that comment. That's you hit me with that comment. That's definite. Something I like that. As far as our listeners and everybody out there, I think all 997 of you guys. That's a charge. That I like that. That's a call to action. That's a charge. That's something definitely that we need to get on top of as a community.
I think what I want to revisit, of course, is you were telling about all the education that's out there, the free education, the opportunities out there. I think we miss opportunities so often, or sometimes opportunities they pass us by. They're more expensive, or something to that nature. We miss so many opportunities for lack of knowledge, probably laziness, not just getting up and going out and getting it. And so you're telling me now that Texas A&M Commerce, the school that you're over for the most part, has opportunity for people even my age, and I don't know that everybody even knows that.
Yeah, let me just say this to you. The founder of this university was a guy by the name of William L. Mayo, and in the building right next to where I'm at right now, there's a placard that says, quote, from William L. Mayo, "No barriers have been raised to say to aspiring youth, this far shall thy go, and no further. I take what the founder of this university says, and the president is a good friend of mine, the provost, the vice president, they're all good friends of mine, and I know them quite well. And I say to them, if the founder of the university said, no barriers, no financial barriers, no emotional barriers, no barriers have been raised to say to them, this far shall thy go and no further. Let's open some doors. Let's give them opportunities. Dr. Henry Ross, good friend of mine, Mr. Jason Douglas, good friend of mine. Every Monday night, we meet with about 12 African-American men every Monday night, meeting with them. Okay, tell me about your struggles. What's going on in your classrooms? Do you need a job? How are you financially? How are you spiritually? How are you emotionally? Let's talk about it. Let's have what is called real talk. Let's talk about those issues. How do we do that? Because that's part of our retention program. You see this thing here that says Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity? Some of you guys know about Black Greeks. People think that Alpha Phi Alpha was the first fraternity. It was the first fraternity, but Alpha Phi Alpha at Cornell University in Ithaca, New York, was really the first retention program for Black men in the United States. That's what all those brothers came there together for. They needed each other. They needed to depend upon one another. That's why they were there for one another.
That's awesome. I love it. So, Pastor, quick question. I'm kind of going backtracking a little bit. We talked about the parents earlier, and I mean, with the education system trying to get better at helping kids find their passions or whatever case may be. There's ways all of us can get better. Right? I know the school board, teachers in general, and my teachers, my sister's a teacher. I got some nieces other teachers, and I know their heart, their passion behind it. All teachers are not out there like that. So how do we get to motivate teachers, even when they become burned out, when the behaviors are coming too much in school? How do we keep them motivated to continue chasing that passion?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Because first and foremost, I don't believe in the concept of burnout. Burnout is something you light a little bit and it feels away. I call it occupational stress. Yeah. And the reason I call it occupational stress is because your aunt, your sisters, and so forth that went to school to become a school teacher because that was a passion. It's something that they loved. My belief is if you take those stressors away, people will self-actualize and enjoy the things that they're actually doing. Some of the stressors that your aunt and others are facing with the behavioral issues in the classrooms and so forth, we need to alleviate those from those individuals. We need to make sure that the other 24 in the classroom who are there to learn and the 2 that are disruptive, we can take those individuals out of the classroom, put them in another learning environment so that the 24 are not penalized because of the action and behaviors of 2 individuals.
It's righteous right there. That's a definite.
And in addition to that, with the school board or the administration of that school, sometimes I've heard this from several teachers I worked with before, including my relatives that's in the teaching profession as well, that sometimes the load they carry, that they want them to accommodate on a daily basis and weekly basis. How do we get them to alleviate some of that stuff from there? Or is that even a possibility?
Yeah, it starts with individuals like yourself and others. When it comes to the American Medical Association, in order to be on that board, guess what? You got to be a doctor. When it comes to the American Bar Association, guess what? In order to be on that board, you got to be what? An attorney. When it comes to the school boards and school system, any socialite who has an axe to grind, who's mad against a teacher, can get all of their friends rally together and get put on the board and then try to make systemic changes, and yet they don't understand what the educational system is all about. We need people who are passionate about education, who's passionate about our young people who are there. I take it upon myself to visit my schools here in Commerce, where I'm on the school board. Why? Because I want the young people to see me there. I want the Black boys and Black girls to see me, to say, whatever I am by the grace of God today, if they desire to reach that level and try to do something, they need role models. They need positive things out there. I need to tell them, if you don't have a $195 pair of Jordans, that's the cheap end side of it, but if you at least got tennis shoes on, hey, you can make a difference. You can go out and you can become something in life. So we got to get people like yourself involved in the school system that's going to school board saying, let's make sure we take care of our schools. We don't need schools where roofs are leaking. We don't need schools where the air conditioners units are not working. That's a travesty of injustice against education. We got to make that learning environment conducive to the well-being of those young people who are there.
All right. It's I know when I was there, I worked with Keep Hope Alive project.
Yes.
Is there still a program set up?
The Keep Hope Alive with Dr. Anthony Harris and Ricardo Finley. We don't necessarily have it in that mode, but we do have programs on campus to inspire. Yes.
Okay.
We have a program I work with called Hunt and Hopkins County African American Leadership Conference. And our mission, our motto is to be a positive voice in an all too often negative world. And we are concerned about the educational pursuits, the mental and the health of our African American community here in East Texas.
Okay. I'm gonna do my best to make sure that Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated has a little more participation.
Which fraternity?
The great one. Come on now.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, it's just the great. We just say the great.
Hey, all my cousins in Louisiana, they're Kappas. You know, boys, you know how you guys are.
Oh man, we're just regular guys. Just we're just those regular guys.
Hey, you're part of Divine Nine, bro. You know how it is.
I tell everybody one thing. I tell them about Texas A&M Commerce. Don't come there with that division, because I know I can speak for my time on your. If you mess with Zeta Tau, you messing with 8 or 5. If you messing with the Kappas, you messing with the Alphas.
I feel you.
We won,
And that's how they are. Thank you for saying that, brother.
Yes, indeed.
That's what it's all about. And the Kappas do a fabulous job. They Kappa Week now going on.
Yeah, I know. We actually were looking at the flyers, letting them know they did a good job with everything.
They're doing great work here. Those young men, for years, they helped me with the MLK program every year. Kappa exercise right there here in Commerce and also over in Sulphur Springs. And when I say come out, they come out in droves. It's not 4 or 5 of them, it's the entire fraternity. So thank you for the groundwork that you laid with them, because it's working out here.
Is Jack Duffy still?
Jack Duffy still works with him. Jack Duffy recently took a job at one of the community colleges, but he's only a rock throw away, so he comes back.
Okay, I knew that. Okay, yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, Jack is the guy here. Excellent.
Sorry, y'all. It's Divine Nine Talk. Come on, fellas. Let's go.
So Dr. Pastor, I just want to say I appreciate you coming on, because, like you said, there's all so often, and you see on the news or any kind of media outlet, you're gonna see a lot of negative, connotations going on with education, and talking about the Black community, things like that. You've transitioned some of my thoughts a little bit, and maybe thinking some things differently about education in itself, and things we can do to help kind of right the wrong in some areas, right? So I appreciate you coming on and having a positive spin on some stuff, because, like I say, it's a lot of times it's negative about whatever we're talking about, because that's what's popular. We have to be trying our brains.
Always remember this about me. In the long run, the pessimist may be proven correct, but the optimist has a better time on the trip.
That's it.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
Oh.
You need to get that trademark. That's good.
Hey, I'm gonna wait till like 5 weeks after everybody forgot, then I'm gonna steal that quote on the show.
It's yours. Take it. Brand it.
Well, hey, you've rejuvenated. I've lost a lot of hope in the educational system, but tonight I think I felt a whole lot better about it. Before I was thinking, college is just a hustle to make more money, and I got a college degree, but I still feel the same way. I always thought that maybe you could work 4, 5, 6 years and be at the same level as somebody who just got out of college, but it's not necessarily the case. It's more about the knowledge. And another thing that I think I've learned tonight is teaching is not the same as educating. Teaching is a job. It's a profession. Educating is with passion. That's what separates the difference. Let's go to a comment real quick. Mar Anthony Hubbard said, "This was good." I started to put "so" in there. This was so good. I thank you for being on the show.
Let me just make this one last comment. Remember this: with that one college degree in your lifetime, you'll make $1 million more than all of your friends who graduated from high school and didn't do anything. You get a master's degree, you'll make $2.5 million more in your lifetime than those who didn't go off to college. You get your PhD, you'll make about $4 to $5 million in your lifetime more than those who didn't. I'm sold on it. It is important. But keep in mind, I got friends of mine who are electricians, who are plumbers, who didn't go to college, and they make boatloads of money. But I do tell folks, at least learn a trade. Be self-sufficient.
Absolutely.
I think I'll let those be the last words. Hey, don't hang up just yet. We're going to speak to you real briefly after the show is over. Hey, thank you so much for being on the show. Let me say that publicly. Anybody who didn't get their comments in tonight, it's your own fault. Hey, we got comedians coming up on the show in a couple weeks. We got 3 great comedians that's going to be on. Y'all, this is going to be a very fun show. Pastor Hendrick, hold on just a second.
Sure. Yes, sir.